Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video. And I am here with my friend Makayla. She is 23 years old, and over the last year, she's done a bit over $250,000 in sales. And I was just congratulating her behind the scenes. I was like, your parents must be like, what are you doing? She just had $100,000 month, which is incredible. Her sales have been just skyrocketing. I've been seeing her all over various YouTube channels, and she's been helping and coaching and just adding a lot of value. So I wanted to bring her on to share a little bit about her story and just try to figure out how in the world are you doing this at 23 years old. So what's going on, Michaela? How are you doing today?
Doing great.
When did you start reselling? Because I mean, has it been about a year or so?
Well, I started reselling in general back in like September, October of last year. So almost a year now. I had a little eBay store, and then it kind of grew. And then I tried Amazon, and I didn't like it because of the ungating stuff. I just was like, this is too much for me. And then I stopped. And then back in February is when I started up again. So it's been 6 months now.
Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of people on eBay, and even for myself, to be honest, when I first started selling on Amazon and like learning about it, it was a really hard transition, you know, having to get ungated, learning about restrictions. I mean, when I started 8 years ago, there wasn't a lot of like restrictions and ungating and stuff, but like over time, there's like more and more rules on Amazon. So how did you get yourself from being an eBay seller to finally getting over those beginning hurdles of selling on Amazon? Because it's a completely different game.
Oh, for sure. I thought it would be a little smoother transition, but like I said, the ungating thing was like what caught me up for the most part. Just meaning, you know, I ended up doing a small group with somebody in Malice, and he, you know, kind of took me under his wing and was like, show me the ropes. And then from there, you know, I met even more people. You know, found out about Miles and Warner, and then I took the roadmap course, and then I had my own mastermind group, and then I started my Instagram. And so, you know, it just all kind of blossomed from there. And I wouldn't be here obviously today if I didn't take the chance back in January with that little small group.
Yeah, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this show, I was going through your Instagram, and you were sharing like some of the things that you've learned and your lessons and challenges. And you were sharing that one of the things that really made the biggest difference in your business was just networking, meeting people, connecting. And I would like to agree with that and say that is the biggest thing in this business, because I mean, just going back to getting ungated and dealing with restrictions, it seems impossible. But once you meet other sellers, it's actually one of the easiest things to get ungated. So when you meet the right people who've already done what it is you want to do, it's easy. So that's great. It's great to see you out there networking and whatnot. So what did you start selling, Michaela, at first? Were you doing like books and random items like that, like most people do?
So I started with grocery. It was like the easiest ungate. You know, I got some oats from Frontier Co-op, and then got that ungated. And then I got some dog treats to get like pet food ungated. And I sold a whole lot of cat food at first, and then, you know, it kind of tanked. But then I spread into like beauty, and, you know, now I'm in mostly clothing and apparel.
Interesting. So what would you call the business model that you're doing right now? Because again, most of the people that are following me on the Rake and Profit channel, a lot of them are selling books, or they're doing like retail arbitrage, going to Goodwill's, garage sales, picking up video games, DVDs, you know, little electronics. What is it that you're doing? Because for some people, they might be thinking like grocery, like pet supplies. What is it that you're doing?
So I do mostly online arbitrage. So I just buy from, you know, name brand stores like Walmart, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, and then I go and sell it obviously on Amazon. And I do a little bit of wholesale. So I get, you know, direct from different distributors and wholesalers. And then I'm actually starting my private label venture. So hopefully within the next 3 months, I should be launched and ready to go.
Interesting. So in order to sell grocery and sell like pet supplies and different things, you have to get ungated when you're a new seller?
So yeah, most of the time, like people have to get ungated in certain categories, but some like might be different. So, you know, I was gated in grocery, and then one of my friends wasn't. They were gated in like beauty and makeup, and I wasn't. So like it, you know, it just varies. Some people are ungated in certain things, and some people aren't. And then obviously, as time goes by and you sell more stuff, then things will automatically become ungated.
So for beginners, Michaela, how do you get ungated? Is it a very complicated process? Everyone's always like, ungated, like, is there this gate? Like, do I need this magic key to get through the gate to sell? Like, what is this for the beginners?
Yeah, it seems like a really daunting task just by like talking about it. And I understood that because when I first started, I was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me anymore. Because like when I was scanning things at Walmart when I first started, like I had nothing ungated, it felt like. And then, obviously I met the right people and, got the right mentoring and figured it out. But no, you just have to buy 10 units of a specific ASIN that's being sold on Amazon. So like say you want to do pet food in general, you can buy, something on Frontier Co-op, buy 10 units of it, and then get it sent to your house. Then you have the invoice, you take a picture of the invoice and you upload it to Seller Central, and then you get ungated that way. And you do that pretty much for everything.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people want to get ungated in Lego. You can just go to the Lego website and then
you can
just
actually do the Chewbacca keychain, and you can get ungated in Disney, Star Wars, and Lego.
Oh, so you're saying you can actually use a single item to get ungated in multiple brands.
That's one
interesting. Yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, I learned a good tip from my buddy Seth over at Checkmate Flips. He said there's a website called christianbooks.com, and a lot of people are getting ungated with DVDs with that. So yeah, it definitely sounds daunting, but it's really not that hard. Just give the invoice to Amazon, buy 10, and bada bing, bada boom, you are good to go. So you're doing online arbitrage. Can you share a little bit about your results right now? I told everyone you've done a little over 250K. It's probably more than that because I think that was a couple of weeks ago or so, that post. But what type of results are you getting? What type of profit margins can people expect with this business? Because I know I'm going to get a million comments. Well, what is her profit? What is she actually bringing home?
So this month I'm at 96,000. Year to date, I'm at about 317,000. My overall profit margin is about 14%, and then this month is about 16.
Is that normal for online arbitrage, or are there like various online arbitrage models? Because I do eBay to Amazon, so mine is much higher. But with what you're doing, like, does selling groceries have like a kind of a range versus like selling maybe like Nike or selling Lego?
Yeah, so like my margins are a lot better on Nike stuff than it is grocery, just because that's the way it works. But yeah, it varies. A lot of people have between 10 to 20%. A lot of us fall within like 15ish. But I mean, that's still really good for me. Like I'll take that any day.
And coming from people who are selling on eBay or going to thrift stores, garage sales, they might think to themselves, that's terrible. That's like drop shipping profit margins. What's the reason why you do online arbitrage? Because, I watch you on the YouTube channel and, on Instagram, and you're passionate, you're excited, you're loving it. I mean, the online arbitrage community is like, it's a crazy community. Like, you guys are amazing. Like, why does everybody love online arbitrage when the margins are so much lower than thrifting?
Because especially like with the stuff that I'm selling now, I'm selling it at such a high velocity. I could sell like 200, 300 units of a single ASIN in a day, 1,000 a month. Like it's crazy volume. It may be smaller profit margin, obviously, compared to some other things. But once you compound that, obviously, over time, and just, being able to sell at such a high velocity compared to, eBay, my eBay store, it did have better margins, but I wasn't selling at the velocity. There's not as many eyes. It's kind of more spread out on eBay than it is kind of on Amazon.
So let me ask you a question. You're 23. Are you living at home with your parents still?
Yeah.
What do your parents think? Like, are these products? That's so normal at 23. I didn't move out till I was like 27. And now with like rent so crazy, the prices of houses, it's like you got to be a millionaire to buy a house nowadays, it seems. But what do your parents think? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like you're putting up these crazy numbers, I'm sure you're spending a ton of money as well, which we could talk about, but what's that dynamic like?
So when I first started my whole journey, obviously I'm here at home, so everything came to my house. And I will never forget that my mom was like, is this going to sell? I'm like, yes, Mom, just trust me, okay? So then over time, obviously now she doesn't even second guess it. She's just like, okay. Like, she just helps me out. My sister helps me. My dad helps me usually. So they all just kind of do a team effort, and they don't ever second guess me anymore. They're kind of like, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. Let's just get the prepping.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they think that like, it's almost like the lottery, but it's not. The more that I've gotten into online arbitrage myself, it's all about data. Could you talk a little bit about how you make decisions in terms of whether you're going to spend, a couple $1,000s or a couple $100 on a bunch of items? Like, are you just guessing, or how do you, large overview, how do you kind of make a buying decision, Michaela?
So I use Seller Amp, and Keepa is like the number one tool for, data stuff. So like reading past charts. So if you say, for instance, you're going to buy something during quarter four, say it's a Lego. So you look at that Lego and you can look back to last year, as long as, I mean, it was made before then. Back at it last year and kind of see, and you can, monitor the trend and kind of figure out like, hey, this is probably what's going to happen this year. And then you can go back even further, like it's all time, from existence, and kind of go back 2 years. And then you can even, further evaluate that and be like, the chances of it doing the same thing this year are highly likely because for the last 2 years it's done the same. So using, Keepa is what I base a lot of my stuff off of, and like certain criteria like BSR, estimated sales, make sure that the Keepa is pretty steady for the price. There's no rocket ship that I always talk about on my Instagram, that you don't want the seller count to look like it's going to outer space. So yeah, and then I do test buys usually. When I first started, I was very conservative. I did, maybe like 5-ish. I never really did more than 10. And now, I kind of have the ropes down. So I do like 10 to 20 usually now.
I feel like the research you can do to purchase a product to flip on Amazon is like 10x of what you can do for research on eBay. Because on eBay, what do you really have? I mean, you can take a look at the overall market, but eBay's a bit more complicated because there's so many different listings. Whereas on Amazon, everybody's under one listing and you have all this data. And most people, they don't even realize how deep Keepa goes. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Michaela, just over the last 3 months from Warner and Flip for Miles and Roam of the Road, I've learned so much about Keepa. Like, did you know, and I know that you know, but do people realize like you can actually see who's owned the buy box, who's been on the listing? I mean, it just goes so deep.
The variations tab, a lot of people don't know about the offers tab in general, like just being able to see kind of that, what store is selling at what price, and kind of like rough estimate of how much they sell during that month too. And like how long they've been on that listing is kind of a good indicator if something's going to be profitable. Because obviously if somebody is on the listing for a longer period of time, if they're not making money, why would they be on the listing for that long? You know what I mean? Kind of just because common sense. So
I'm curious for the folks who are watching who are maybe thrifting, and as you know, I mean, I don't know if you know, because I know you've been doing this model for a while, but the thrifting model, like going to thrift stores, it's just getting so much harder. The prices are higher. There's more competition. I mean, obviously, post-pandemic, everybody wants to make money online, work from home. And there's still tons of money to be made at the thrift stores. Like, let's not sit here and like act like you can't make money from thrift stores if you're willing to work hard. But a lot of people are struggling to be able to accumulate more inventory. And that's why you love OA, because again, you can just order it, have tons of volume come right to you. But a lot of people are probably thinking like, I don't have thousands of dollars to start. Maybe I don't have really good credit, or I don't want to go into credit card debt. What advice would you give, Michaela, to beginner reseller who's maybe 3 to 6 months, they're making money, but they want to grow. They want to get to 5K a month, 10K a month, maybe get up to 3 to 5 to 7K a month profit. How can a beginner start this model without lines of credit, not wanting to go into debt, or having thousands of dollars of disposable income to start?
So like people ask me all the time, like, how much money should I start with? And I feel like some people think the more you have, the better kind of thing, but it's also really risky because you don't know what you're doing when you first start out. And if you have, say, access to, a $50,000 credit line, you feel like you got to spend all that. And if you're not wise about it, then you might spend $50,000 on the worst items possible. And then obviously you're losing money, and then you're in credit card debt. And then it's the cycle just keeps on going. So yeah, like $500, that's usually a good start. I usually recommend 500. And then obviously keep your 9 to 5. I know everybody wants to quit their job right away, but keep your 9 to 5. Use the 9 to 5 to pay for your bills. So if you have, house payment, car payment, all that, use that to pay for that. And then if you have anything extra left over, throw that into your business, and then don't take anything out of your store while it's growing, because then that helps a lot. Because if you think about compounding effect and like how much it compounds over the weeks and months, it's huge. If you just do not don't take it out, just keep buying inventory, keep cycling it back through.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about like paying yourself and managing cash flow, because right now I've grown my business to about to hit 30K over the last 30 days. Hopefully today I'm looking at my sales. I'm super close. I'm not taking any money out, right? My business is profitable, but all that profit is almost accumulating as like more and more inventory, right? And I'm making sure that my inventory is fast selling. It's good stuff, but I'm not taking any money out because my goal is to get to 40 to 50K a month. And then I'm probably going to start taking some money out, because my margins are much higher. Like my ROI is like sometimes 40 to 50% because I do eBay to Amazon flips. But what do you say to your students and people that you teach? Like, how long can someone expect like how long do you really have to like grow your sales and your inventory till you could start paying yourself something? Obviously, it probably depends on your goals, but do you have any like just overall parameters that you follow?
So I really didn't start making a whole lot of money until about last month. That was my first 10K month. I ended up with like maybe 12 and a half on the month,
nice.
Which is still really, really good. I mean, I'm only 23 years old, so that was more than I've ever made my entire life. So,
yeah, my parents never made that much money.
It was a big deal for me. So, you know, obviously it could take up to a year, it could take longer. So that's what I'm saying. Like, don't be like, yeah, quitting my job right now. You know, just take it slow. It's a lot easier when you don't have like obligations hanging from you, you know, like, oh my God, I have to do well this month because I have XXXX, you know, I have a car payment, I have a mortgage, you know, all of these things. It's just a lot less stress if you know you only have like a certain number of things that you have to cover because maybe you already have the second stream of income. You have a 9-to-5 job. You know, all I needed was enough to pay my student loans, which was like $400. So like my stress level was kind of low. You know, I still live with my parents and I'm, you know, taking advantage of that so I can keep growing my business and keep putting everything to it because rent's expensive. Owning a house is expensive. Like I just don't want to, you know, rip that money out of because I'm doing so well. It's snowballing really fast. So yeah, it could take up to a year. I've seen people take 2 years. I mean, it's just kind of, you know, it's up to you, you know, how fast that you're going to do this and and it also depends on, you know, how much money you start with as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's why, you know, I always tell a lot of people, Michaela, keep flipping stuff from thrift stores, keep looking on Facebook Marketplace because those margins could be 80, 100, 200%. You know, you're not going to make those margins doing eBay to Amazon flips or OA for the most part. I'm sure you hit some home runs here or there and, you know, maybe you get on a listing, Amazon goes out of stock and it doubles or whatnot. But yeah, that's really, really great advice. So let's transition a little over to your goals. You're excited for Q4. I know you are. Are you going to crush it?
Yeah. 100%. Miles is going to kill me if I don't hit like 50K in profit.
Wow. So is that the goal?
Yeah, we're going to full send it. So that's how I've been boss.
Oh yeah. That is awesome. And did you know, do you find that having like Miles in your corner, Warner, I know you're, you know, part of a pretty good community. Are you guys like sharing bolos and kind of like helping each other out?
Yeah, it was a game changer meeting Miles and everybody else. We've got a nice little mastermind crew. It's steadily growing as the weeks go by. So even better, you know, once you get a certain amount of people in there and you got different people from different backgrounds, obviously all of us kind of sell different things. We all have, you know, different ways of sourcing and everything. So like, it's just nice to have, you know, other opinions and, you know, other brains to pick, I guess, whenever I need to.
So final 2 questions for you. Number 1, is there any product or category that you feel people should get started with? Because I know a lot of people are gonna be like, this is awesome. I'm excited. If she could do it, I could do it. But where do I start? Like, is there anywhere that you recommend that you kind of push people towards that is more like beginner friendly, you know, lower budget friendly, if you know what I mean?
Usually grocery is what I recommend because like I said, it's one of the easiest to get ungated. It's relatively cheap. You know, it doesn't have a high ASP, average sales price, kind of like the things that, you know, electronics, Nike stuff, you know, they tend to be higher. You know, grocery you can buy, so say your budget's $200, you can buy a lot of groceries with $200 compared to say Nike shoe. You may be only be able to buy like 4 pairs of shoes. So would you rather have, you know, 20 items or 2 or 4 items? I mean, it spreads the risk out as well when you first start out because you're going to make mistakes. And that's exactly how I started out. I started out with grocery and I'm glad I did because a lot of that stuff, like I said, is lower cost. And if something does happen, then it's not like a huge dent in your capital. Yeah.
Any tips for like any stores or where people can start? Like when I think of grocery, I think like retail arbitrage. Like how do you get grocery online?
Walmart. Like that's like
really
place that, yeah. You could get tax exempt at Walmart as well. Once you form your LLC and all that stuff, you can get tax exempt. And then obviously that's a big advantage too. I highly recommend doing that because a lot of people that shop at Walmart are already tax exempt. So you're competing. So whatever your tax may be, mine's 7.25%. So I'm already at a disadvantage compared to, you know, 0%. So definitely recommend looking into that if you're going to do a lot of sourcing from Walmart.
Or just even have a prep center, right? That is.
Yeah, or do a prep center in like Montana, Oregon.
Gotcha.
Delaware, New Hampshire.
Awesome. Cool. That's really good. And I'm assuming you're finding your products by storefront stocking using SellerAmp?
Yeah.
Do you have any videos on your channel about that?
Yeah, I have the rough and dirty guide to seller amp and keepa, and then I have a live sourcing session. I need to do another at some point in time. I've just been so busy with FBM that it's just in my life.
Really? What are you doing FBM with? Like what types of products?
Back to school stuff. I've stirred up the pot a lot lately on Instagram with the FBM stuff. People are trying to call me out and everything for it, but I like to do it. It's kind of like eBay, you go back to your roots. I started with eBay, and eBay is 10 times more hard and involves a lot more work than FBM does, because you have to take pictures of your stuff, you have to list it yourself, you have to write the description yourself, and you have to pack it, and then you have to ship it. Everything you have to do on your own. Whereas for FBM, obviously you just put the listing up. There's no description, there's no photos that you have to do, and then you post it on there, and then you send it out. It's not as time consuming as eBay.
So yeah, I was telling Michaela behind the scenes, I was like, I'm going to ask you just beginner questions because my audience is, new to this and whatnot, but I'm going to dive a little deeper in because I'm getting excited about this. So with the back to school stuff, are you creating bundles in a sense? Are you finding a listing that's selling really well and you're going out and maybe Dollar Tree or something and you're finding it and just bundling it together and jumping on that listing? Are you creating almost bundles or semi PL type of things and making your own listing with that?
So I don't mess with the listing stuff. That's not my other than my private label stuff.
I never have either. Yeah.
No. So traditionally I just kind of find the items, and then, as a lot of people will figure out, bundles sell for higher prices usually compared to single.
So that's what you're doing, bundles.
So I do a lot of bundles. It's just a single item, and then I bundle it together, and then I make, twice as much.
Are you just piggybacking on someone's listing? So you're just finding a listing that's working really well. You're figuring out, let's just say this item right here, let's just pretend this is back to school, and then this item, and you're sourcing them, putting them together, creating your own bundle. You put a little do not separate sticker, probably polybag them or stretch wrap them, whatever you do. And then why are you merchant fulfilling it versus sending it to FBA though?
This is the heated topic that I'm ready for.
I was I'm not going to get into it, but you got me excited.
Very passionate about this part, but
I love that.
So for FBM, I have a multitude of reasons. One being seasonal. Back to school is a seasonal. It's back to school doesn't last forever. You don't want to
wait a month for it to check in and hit 27 fulfillment centers.
So you're waiting 3-4 weeks. Sometimes it's even longer, depending on how fast they feel like they're going to do it.
It's over by the time it checks in.
Yeah. So by the time it checks in, you're it's gone. So it's risk as well. I keep my stuff here so that something does happen, then, I have it at my house. I don't have to pay removal fees. If the listing tanks or whatever, it's still here. I can just easily take it back to the store, or just sell it or somewhere else, or donate it or whatever it may be. So yeah, that also is a huge thing in that. And then the cash flow. Since I have switched to some FBM, I don't fully do FBM. People always think I'm doing full FBM, but I don't. I do 80% FBA and 20% FBM. I know it may seem like a lot because I do a lot. I just sent out 200 packages today, so I do a lot of volume, but it's about 20% of my sales. So the cash flow, since I've started introducing it about 6 weeks ago, I started with 10%, then 15%, and then now I'm at 20%. And probably by the end of the month, it'll be close to 25%, 30 maybe.
So this item that you shipped out 200 of, is that one specific item?
No. Okay. So some of them were the same, and then some of them were not. So it's a lot of different.
So how much?
Obviously. What'd you say?
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off. How much profit are you making on on average to fulfill it as a merchant? What is your minimum where it's worth it for you to have to do that instead of having FBA do it? And I know, again, we talked about the reasons why you're doing it, but is it a $5 cutoff?
Yeah, it's $4 or $5. I right now, the last 30 days, I have my net's 30%. So for FBM.
Not bad. Awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm doing pretty well with it. So that's why I keep doing it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a whole nother video I want to go into, but I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to resist my temptation to keep going and diving into that.
Hours.
We hit a hot spot, but yeah, Michaela, thank you so much for coming on the channel. If you guys want to follow Michaela, FBA Michaela on Instagram and YouTube, is that correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So be sure to follow her and to be able to watch her journey becoming a millionaire by 25.
I won't have a Lamborghini though.
No Lamborghinis here. I love it though. Keep up the good work. And, like we were talking about behind the scenes, keep inspiring more women to do this, because it's like we were saying behind the scenes, it's like mostly guys on YouTube reselling, and we got to get more ladies out there sharing the knowledge. So let's go. Come on now. So with that being said, appreciate you coming on. Give Michaela a follow, and also go subscribe to her channel, because we're going to be doing a video for her YouTube as well. So we'll see you over there. And with that being said, much love. Thanks for coming on, guys, and talk to you soon.